it's very much like us as adults, how we put together all these pieces to construct our own self-esteem and how we feel about ourselves. One of the things that is a test that they do for self-recognition is the rouge test. They'll put a dot of rouge on the baby's nose and see if they put them in front of the mirror, if they recognize that the baby in the mirror is them, as opposed to being another child. It's very cute, if you will, to see them mistaken that. I remember like having a full length mirror and having my son on my hip, and he would either like touch the baby in the mirror. Obviously, at that point, he did not have the self-recognition. He did not realize that that was him. There are 2 of Erickson's stages, and I don't know why I don't have the slide for the trust versus mistrust, but there's 2 of Erickson's stages in this age group. The first one is trust versus mistrust, and this is hugely related to attachment and that whole synchrony of child signals a need, parent responds, and then they have this development of a trust of the world that if I need something, I can ask for it and I will get it. The kids that are not responded to have that sense of mistrust, and it's a totally different experience for them in the world. The second stage is the autonomy versus shame and doubt, and this is coming around about 1 to 2 years. So this is when they're starting to be much more mobile, they're starting to be more active, and they're very proud of their accomplishments. They want you to see what they can do, that they can climb, they can push, they can pull, they can do all of these different things. They want to start doing a lot of self-care. They want to put their own shoes on. They want to get dressed themselves. They want to do things, but they want to do it on their own and at their own pace. If you are constantly rushing or pushing or, you know, make them feel inadequate, this is what the negative side of this controversy is going to be: the feelings of doubt, feelings of uncertainty, that sort of thing. So, you know, pick your battles. If it's a, you know, rainbow shirt and a polka dot pair of leggings, let it go. That is not that is not your big concern for the day. Attachment is huge with social and emotional development. There's a lot of different theorists that talk about how it is developed. The definition is that close connection between infant and child, or infant and parent, or infant and caregiver. There's a lot of different theories. Like I said, Freud was the whole breastfeeding is where attachment comes from. Harlow and Zimmerman actually were the ones with the baby monkeys who were trying to disprove Freud. And they basically did by showing that the baby monkeys would spend 23 hours a day on the squishy monkey so that they felt comforted and soft, as opposed to, you know, cuddling up to the monkey that was able to feed them, but wasn't soft and cozy. As I just talked about with Erickson, that first year is critical for the development of attachment because it's all about baby being very helpless and dependent. And if his needs are met, then he's going to feel much more safe. And Bowlby was another theorist, and he looked at different biologically equipped attachment behaviors. So ways that young or children can kind of signal adults to them. So they're born with these behaviors that cooing, crying, that sort of thing, where they signal adults. So lots of different theories on attachment. When it comes to the development, it's really interesting to see how experience goes into this. When babies are born, from birth to 2 months, they are, you know, focusing on people in general. If a person is meeting their needs, then that is pretty much how attachment works there. And once they get where they are maybe having a little bit more sensory ability, as well as they're used to a primary caregiver, they often focus their attachment on this. And this is like 2 to 7 months, height of that time. You see in phase 3, the 7 to 24 months, this is where you might have very specific attachments. And that could be potentially mommyitis, where the child has stranger anxiety and doesn't want to be with anyone but mom, or same with dad, that sort of thing. And then you've got in the final phase a much more goal-directed partnership. So at this point, the child is able to be a little bit more verbal and they understand. So there's cognition that's happening, there's routine that is happening, and you can have a communication. So the child, you say, mommy's going to go here, and the child understands that kind of partnership. There's a lot of different ways you can study attachment. One of the most interesting ones, and you guys will see videos on this in your Moodle shell, is the strange situation experiment. This was designed to look at periods of separation and reunification with an infant and their mother, and to see how the child would act when mom came back after the separation. So that reunion was huge, that if the child sought out mom and was comforted and soothed by mom, there would be demonstration of a secure attachment. And if they didn't have that, you had some sort of less secure attachment. Couple things that do go into attachment and social emotional development of child is how the parents act. So if you think about it, I don't know how many of you are parents, but even for myself, who was, we made the decision to have kids, we planned on having children, it was still hard. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of adaptation that needs to be done. Like I talked about with the postpartum period, add that with, just trying to balance and trying to figure out, what the child needs and that sort of thing. There is a lot of mixed reports on parenting. It's not all honeymoon stage. Reciprocal socialization is also involved in attachment as well as social emotional development. So this is kind of going off that other slide that I was talking about. You'll notice that the behaviors of moms and infants actually have a lot of interconnection, a lot of mutual regulation, a lot of synchronization, where they're going back and forth off each other. One example of that is scaffolding, where you have a parental behavior that is supporting a more skilled version of what the child can do. So they're providing the appropriate support so that child can either physically or mentally move up and kind of develop that skill. An example would be turn taking, or, if you see this used in school a lot, where they will pair a more skilled peer with a lesser skilled peer, and they'll do different activities together where they both are kind of supporting each other's behavior. And the last thing that I'd like to talk about is the fact that there are just differences in the way that moms and dads do infant caregiving. Both are completely able to sensitively and responsively interact with their infants. What often happens is moms tend to center their efforts around more day-to-day childcare activities. And so in a lot of situations where the child's under stress, they might actually prefer to be with mom. Whereas dads are, it sounds bad, but like my husband, he's totally the fun parent. He does a lot of, my boys were younger, did a lot of Legos, did a lot of rough and tumble play, that sort of thing. And I was like the boring one, because I was the bath person or the, making food person, that sort of thing. So it's really interesting how the two are different, but both very capable of doing it all. But there's definitely value for having both maternal and paternal caregiving in the same house. And the last thing, I thought the last one was the last one. This really, I think, is the last one. Daycare and how it's different here than it is in other European countries. A lot of it has to do with the leave acts that other countries have. There's a lot of countries that do both maternal and paternal leave. So moms and dads both get time off. In the United States, we have more kids that are in daycare than ever before. And there is not an equal, like, this is what all daycare looks like. There's a lot of inequality in daycare. There's a lot of better or good daycares, and there's a lot of not so good daycares. Make sure that you're very aware of the situation that your child is in, should you choose to, or if you have to put them into daycare, for example, group size or the child to adult ratio, physical environment, what the caregivers are, actually like, making sure you're choosing people who are people you would trust to have your child with. Just a lot of things to think of. So just wanted to drop this in, and I hope that you guys have a great week.